What on earth is that? It's a Journey into Comics Network production!
Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
Brought to you by the power of the Journey into Comics Network. This is the Journey into Comics podcast, the show that's 100% dedicated to everything nerd. With your hosts, the Podfather, Nate Phillips, the Podmaster, Brandon Stone, and the Journey into Comics Network stepdad, Tyler McLaughlin.
Time to make the chimichangas.
30 seconds.
Hey!
Excellent!
Finally.
What did you do?
I went for it. And here we go.
Can somebody tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dressed up as a bat gets all of my press? This town needs an enema.
What's up, true believers, and welcome back to another episode of Journey into Comics. This is episode 333. That's 333. We are half evil here today on the show. I'm one of your hosts, Brando, and joining me here today is the stepdad of the Journey into Comics Network, the one and only T.Y. Tyler McLaughlin. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. It appears that it's still a blizzard outside, and for me, that's not great. But I'm okay.
Yeah, thankfully, we got off the road yesterday right when the snow started coming down. We went up to visit our old pod daddy, Nate. He's off today. He's pulled a double. Nate's pulling a double. Mm-hmm. You know, for the longest time, Nate didn't have any, what should I say, regular contracted work. You know,
right.
He was a man of many ventures, did a lot of different things, but now he's got steady hours. He's got a schedule. What in the world is going on over there? Guys, both of us are dads, and both of us have kids, and we started the show in the midst of probably my oldest throwing a tantrum about Super Mario Odyssey. So if you hear some slamming and growling, that's what it is, guys. We promise we don't mistreat him. He mistreats us. Anyways, here on the show today, we got some cool stuff to talk about. WandaVision, a couple rumors. We're just going to riff-raff today here on the show. But T.Y. missed out last week. He was down with the count last week with an old migraine. And trust me, both Nate and I know the full extent of what that can do. That can totally kind of derail your entire day. Mm-hmm. And but glad to hear that you're doing well. What is there anything new in your woods in your echelon of TY?
Not really. Just like the Fresh Prince, relaxing, all cool. Just it's cold outside, and I don't want to be out there, so I'm trying to do as little as absolutely possible.
Absolutely. I have also been chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool. I have been very slowly, playing Cyberpunk. Now, just a few weeks ago, Tyler, me and you talked, and you said your buddy said his worst game he's ever played in his life. Mm-hmm. You know, piece of trash. And of course, this game infamously came out and was not ready for the big time, unfortunately, it seems. It seems like if you want to run this game smoothly, you need to have a really big rig or a version of next gen, but there's still bugs. I am actually playing it on a PS4 Pro. Now, was it that next Monday that me and you talked that weekend, and on Monday, Best Buy had a one-day sale where it was like $30 with a Steelbook, and I sent you the link and said, check this out. For $30, we could play this piece of crap game, and if it's the worst game we've ever played, we only spent $30 on it. But
right.
But see, the kicker for me was we got a Steelbook for free, and we get a next-gen update for free when we do get those. So therefore, like, I'm thinking, man, this might not be a bad deal, even if I don't play it. And I can till then. But there was a snag right in the very beginning, right from the get-go. I got a video from you and your steelbook was literally in two pieces. It was broken in half. That's how it arrived to you from the factory or the warehouse or wherever. And I was like, but wait, there's more, because mine was also faulty, because it looked like Macho Man Randy Savage came diving down from the heavens with an elbow drop, because only his elbow could have that much precision to land on a steelbook from the clouds up on high. And I was planning.
These blasts are too accurate to be stormtroopers.
Yeah. But I told you I was going to go to Best Buy. We both went, and we were able to painlessly exchange the steelbooks. They didn't cause an issue. That was the best experience I think I've ever had at Best Buy.
Yeah, well, that's what, you and I were standing in a line, and in the back of we were riffing and shooting the breeze like we always do. But I totally expected to get to the counter, and it's not like, no offense towards any Best Buy employees, but normally I don't have good customer service experiences at Best Buy. It's just historically, I fucking don't shop there because it sucks. I walked up and I explained to the gal working behind the counter, like, hey, I had this shipped to me, and I opened it and I went, I was like, this is how it came, and I want a new one. And then she was super polite and went through the process, and I was like, oh, and by the way, the guy right behind me in line has the exact same thing. So, she didn't say anything. She just kept doing what she was doing, and I was like, this bitch is fucking ignoring me. And then I started to say it again. I'm like almost mansplaining to her, like bring me my thing. He needs it too. And she's like, I sent the guy to get 2 copies, and it was painless. Couldn't have been a better customer service experience. So maybe we should buy some Best Buy stock, because that seems to be the trend here lately.
Oh my gosh. All right. So yeah, we are now into like week 4. Is it week 4? Are we done with week 4? Or are we going into week 5 now?
January's done today.
I know, dude. We're already done. We have lived. We have survived January of the new year.
Longest month.
Yeah, I mean, it was like basically 2020, the epilogue. Is what this month was, and it doesn't seem like it's going to slow down anytime soon. No, like first we had an insurrection on the Capitol. We did an episode on that, and then last week it was the Bernie memes from the inauguration.
Look how far we've come from Twisted Tea to Bernie Sanders.
My favorite one. Well, okay, so no, like we mentioned, Will Smith, The Fresh Prince was one of my favorites. Bobby Knight throwing him across the court was another one.
Yeah, that was great.
But and then of course I do like the one where it's actually Bernie saying, "I'm once again asking you not to Photoshop me into any more photos. I'm no longer asking." He got the twisted tea. Like, here we go. We have married the two worlds together. Basically, like that was the epitome of what a comedian calls as like a callback. You make a joke early in the set and you have a callback later on to it, and people go, "I remember that joke." But no, I've been playing Cyberpunk a little bit.
Are you enjoying it?
So far, yes. I will say that I'm actually really enjoying the story. The gameplay is okay. It's solid. Performance-wise, it's solid. Have there been any bugs? I've had a couple of bugs. I've only ran into one T-poser. For anybody who doesn't know, that's when you make video games and you do motion capture, you have to do a T-pose at the beginning and end of whatever movement you're making. So only one T-poser, but I had a couple of issues where I thought it was going to actually affect me finishing the mission. Basically, a guy was stuck on the elevator, wouldn't get out of the elevator, and I couldn't progress, and he wasn't shooting me, but I was able to kill him. And then we just continued on in the elevator with the dead dude in the elevator. And when the elevator moved, he went weightless.
Oh shit!
So I mean, some of these bugs are to comedic effect. Some of them are a little ridiculous. Some of them do suck. I haven't had nothing has been game breaking yet. And I understand other people have not been as lucky, which is why the reaction to this game has been the way that it's been. But so far, literally, man, that story kicked into high gear at a certain point. The whole beginning part of it, and this is no spoiler here, it's pretty basic. You're a low guy on the totem pole trying to work your way up, do some jobs, and it's very interesting the way they decided to tell the story, because there are no cutscenes in the game. Everything is done with you having control of your head and movement. Everything's first person. Your character has a voice, right? You do get to pick what you say, but your character's like every scene is done through that perspective, which is very different. You typically, even if it's a first-person game, when it's time for a cutscene, it goes all cinematic with it and everything. So that may be something that is causing issues because everything is done in engine. It has to be rendered in, so that could be a problem. But it's very unique in that instance. Like the game, as far as bugs go, think of some of the Bethesda bugs, and maybe make it one notch worse. That's been my when it plays great, it's fine. And I might have said last week, or might have said to somebody, I don't like the driving. Correction, I don't like the driving on the base vehicle they give you. It's kind of more of a tank. Since then, I have stolen and procured other vehicles that drive a lot better, and I'm having more fun driving. So I really love the setting, and I'm starting to get into just the aesthetics of the world and the story. My God, when it kind of takes a little bit of a twist at a certain point, and everything kind of starts coalescing into this is where we're going, and it starts getting really interesting, and I want to see more. So now so far, honestly, the game has won me over. I don't think it's going to be a 10 for me simply because of the factors with the gameplay, and that's sad. But I also don't think it's necessarily that bad. And also, I'm not going to say you should fire it up on your Xbox. I think you should wait, because I want you to experience it in the best way that you can. By the time you do play it on a next gen console, by the time we get next gen consoles, hopefully that next gen version will be out. They will have ironed out a lot of the big problems already with the game. So therefore, you can kind of play it the way that it was kind of intended to be to be played. And but so far, enjoying it. The other big news in my world is we just launched last week a brand new podcast in the Journey into Comics Network, and that is Rank 'Em All. The Rank 'Em All podcast is now live. The first episode is up on podcast services. You can go check that out. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify now. It's on Google Podcasts. I think it's on TuneIn. It's on Stitcher. So, quite a number of places. There is a few places that we have submitted it, the same places that we do here, that it is not yet. Give it time. And, of course, the YouTube channel. Go check out the YouTube channel and the website, rankemall.rocks. We kicked it off. Nothing but great response from it so far. There's been we've been getting feedback, and a lot of people are digging it. There has been one. This wasn't a criticism, but I noticed it was a question of, are you guys going to do a live stream so you can participate in the drinking game with us? And I'm like, oh man, we didn't even conceptualize the drinking game until about 4 or 5 episodes in, and these are just things that we started noticing that were being said in continual jokes. And so I said maybe later on down the line we could try and get a live stream with some of us together to live stream the episode with some of the listeners to have some fun. But no, man, we're really excited about it. And as I said, nothing but good feedback. Go check it out and wherever you can. Really cool thing about this podcast is that we go down some of our favorite bands or artists' discographies, and we rank each song, gives us our album rank, and then one episode per week for each album. And then once we're done with a band, we march right on to the next band. We have a whole list of bands that we want to do, and there's going to kind of be a rotating door of guests or rankers or whatever. Like the main 4 that are on this first series, for which we rank Metallica. I mean, myself, Nate, of course, you guys know him from here, and then of course we have Dick and Nick from Podcastrophe and Brews with Dudes. They joined us for that one, and we're all going to be involved in some way. But just spoiler alert: after Metallica, we've now split, and we're doing separate series. So me and Nate are doing a separate one. Dick and Nick are doing a separate one with different people, and that's going to continue on as we keep rolling along. So yeah, check it out. Maybe we'll get to one of your favorite bands down the line. But no, super excited about that project. It was really, really awesome to see the likes pouring in really fast onto Facebook. I was like overwhelmed because we hadn't even done anything yet. Like we hadn't even officially released anything yet, and people were just popping a like, and that kind of encouraged me to be a little bit more active or like release the sneak peek thing that I did. So definitely happy about that, man. And here's the more week 2 coming up. But
yeah, I can't wait to listen more and maybe sneak my way onto an episode.
Well, I mean, you know the invite is there always, and we may or may not have been talking about that. Anyways, no, dude, I'm super excited about it. I actually listened to the episode myself because it took us half a year to record this thing, to pull back the curtain to just a bit. And we didn't want to release it until the first series was all done, and then we could kind of start releasing them and then work on the next set. But it took a while to get everybody all together all at once to do everything, and but so it had been half a year since I listened to that first episode, or since we did it. So there were some things that I had even forgotten. But it's going to be really neat, guys, and we're really excited about it. But another thing that we're really excited about is that WandaVision show.
I mean, this last episode was, it did a lot in a very short time frame. I was surprised at the end of it that it was only 33 or 34 minutes. But it's my favorite episode in the series so far.
And dude, okay, so that 33 minutes, that's with like a 5-minute credits sequence. Yeah. So it's even less than that. It's like 28 minutes. And no, they did do a lot. And so spoilers, we're going to dive right into talking about WandaVision. Spoilers, if you haven't seen it, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of here. All right. Are you gone? Did you watch it then come back? All right. So no, what I liked is that they showed you the first 3 episodes, or they gave you the first 2 in one go, and like the first episode is a Dick Van Dyke episode. It is straight up, boom, this is Dick Van Dyke episode. And at the end,
it sets more important. Like the first episode, more importantly, sets the tone for the next 2.
Yeah, and it gives you just a tidbit of there's something ain't right here. Hold up. Wait a minute, something ain't right. And that's the spot where the boss is choking, and Kitty from 70 shows like, stop it. Was that the part that made you feel uncomfortable the first time?
Yes. Also, yes.
Because I'm like, what's going on?
I was like leaning back in my chair, like, can this stop, please?
And so then he phases, gets the food out, and then they carry on like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And okay, episode 2, that was a bewitched episode, but a few more sprinkles. You get a few more things of hints of something ain't right here. The beekeeper comes out of the hive, or comes out of the sewer. I almost said, I definitely said beekeeper comes out of the hive. Wow.
You did, but it's okay.
Can you imagine a huge walk-in beehive that these beekeepers walk into and just hack away with axes getting these combs? And these bees are like, stop this man. He is getting all of our honey. And they're like, we can't.
Stop this madness.
So dude rolls out of the sewer, and like, again, it was like at the very end, something ain't right here.
Well, and just like everybody else in the world, we watch that episode and it's like, what the fuck is the significance of the beekeeper? We don't notice in that episode the symbol that's on his back.
I missed it.
We don't see it. We don't see it.
Yeah, completely.
So, and then you get to the 3rd episode with the luncheon and the helicopter, and shit gets colorized. Or no, that happens.
Yeah, that was the second one. The third one was like the Brady Bunch. Episode.
Yeah.
When she's pregnant and they get the
that's what I
doctor and the twins. And again, it's going in a certain that third episode, like first 3 episodes, give you enough of this TV entertainment. And then there's a spot in each episode where something clicks and it changes the tone completely. And it's when Geraldine was in there, with Wanda and said like, yeah, your brother was killed by Ultron, right? And it was like, no pun intended with the snap, but like, boom, what'd you say? Oh, I'll watch the babies. You go ahead and relax. No, what'd you say about Pietro? And it was like,
what did you say?
Yeah. And oh, dude, again, and then of course the neighbors on the outside are like, she don't belong here. She don't even have a home. She like she ain't right. She ain't like us. I'm like, what do you mean like us? Like Vision was talking to him. But all of that was revealed in this 4th episode, where from the get-go, it starts off from the undoing snap from Hulk.
From the blip, yeah.
We got to see a little bit of that in Spider-Man, where they're kind of like jokingly like the band is coming back during the basketball game and shit like that. But we get to see them basically reforming where they were, essentially. Like she was in the hospital bed laying next to her mom, or sitting next to her mom. Mm-hmm. And that's where you're kind of confused, because that's when we do realize canonically now what we all knew is that Geraldine is really Monica Rambeau from Captain Marvel. She's the little girl, and her mom Maria, she was Carol Danvers' best friend.
She was Goose, basically.
Yeah. I love that. But it's like, hey, like where's my mom? It's like, dude, she's gone. She died. The cancer came back. And so like we as the audience are realizing, and the hospital's freaking out. Like all these dead people, all these missing people are just popping back in other people's rooms. I do wonder if someone was laying there and someone blipped back in on top of them.
Probably.
And so thankfully we get out of that. And we realized that Maria, she helped form S.W.O.R.D.
Which makes sense, with everything that happened in Captain Marvel. It just makes sense, and with the scroll and everything. Now we're starting to set some stuff up, with Secret Invasion and stuff. Some of the stuff that's coming later on down the line. Now we're starting to see why they're making some of the moves that they are.
Exactly. And so then we find out that Monica goes back to work because she works there too. One thing I really liked is that up on the wall was a little honor picture like of her mom, where it said Monica Photon Rambeau. Me and Nate talked about last week about how one of Monica's alter ego superhero names was Photon. So so this is obviously like an MCUized version of this whole mess, and she gets sent on a missing persons case, and it turns out like it's not a missing person, it's a missing town. And right there is the FBI agent from Ant-Man and the Wasp, the same. Yeah, Agent Wu. He was the guy meant to kind of keep tabs on Scott and all that kind of jazz, and he mentioned he was on a manhunt before he got pulled off on this. So whether he's looking for Scott, or whether or not he's looking for Hawkeye, because maybe he's kind of in charge of him too. The 2 guys that were let go from the whole Civil War mess on house arrest. So who knows? Why the thing that I have to wonder is if this is after the snap or the undoing, or both, why would they give 2 shits now about shit that happened way back then? I mean, don't get me wrong, that does feel like some federal government shit. That they would be like, hey, where's your ankle bracelet? None of you would be, Ant-Man's like, none of you would be back if it wasn't for me.
Yes,
no
specifically
one.
Scott Lang.
Yes. Without him making that drive, none of that movie would have happened.
Nope.
Without that rat.
Well, it's a rat. Let's not forget about the rat.
I like how we were both going on the same same wavelength there. Without that rat hanging out in that storage locker, none of that would have happened. But no, I what I really liked is that that was a really cool little small MCU continuity thing. And, we already know what the MCU does really well is continuity within its own properties, within its own movies, while bringing in other stars from other movies, having them coalesce. Very comic booky. But to do it on a smaller level feels just as satisfactory to me, because then Monica gets she gets sucked into this pocket world.
Into Westville.
And then we get
Darcy.
Darcy, yeah. Darcy from the Thor movies. She's back now.
Kat Dennings.
Yeah. And she's rolling in, and she discovers an old UHF signal that's and basically they're watching what we've already seen.
Yeah, they start watching the show, and I thought that was incredibly clever. I didn't expect it. I love her character anyway. Those first couple Thor movies, she was the comedic relief, So it was nice to see her come back. Along with Agent Woo, a lot of he's almost like a fan favorite character from Ant-Man and the Wasp and all that jazz. So the fact that those characters came back, first of all, is great. But what was really what I enjoyed probably more than anything was those two characters interacting with each other. Because the way that the episode starts, you think, okay, this is going to be maybe not focusing on Wanda and Vision so much. We're going to focus on Monica Rambeau and why Geraldine, why she becomes Geraldine in this in this fantasy world or whatever you want to call it. And then it completely 180s and then focuses on, it's almost like a buddy cop drama, with Darcy and Wu trying to solve the mystery. And then, you've got all the bureaucracy and the incompetent, military and scientists, and they're not solving anything. And then we figure out where the beekeeper comes from.
Yeah.
They didn't start as a beekeeper.
No. So basically what's going on is it called Eastview?
Westview.
So it's called Westview. So which one is west and which one is east? Is the fake one that's west?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
So the whole town of Eastview has been transformed into Westview. Is that the way that I understood it? Because there's these cops.
No, Westview.
Okay.
Westview is the real one. The cops were from Eastview.
Okay, so basically this whole town has a big field around it. And a fake TV sitcom-y type world has been created within it, and the citizens of this town have been recast in other roles to play these roles. And where Wanda has inserted herself, it seems, into this home.
She's the puppet master.
Yeah. She's getting to live out this
fantasy.
This fantasy of this American dreams type lifestyle that she didn't get to have. And so the whole beekeeper dude, he was a guy that was going underground. This whole tunnel, that gave me Shawshank vibes. It was very
Yep.
But
he's crawling through the sewer.
Yeah. Thankfully there's no river of shit. But they were arguing about whether or not that view or that force field
penetrates the ground.
Yeah, but he was able to crawl through, and he's wearing this radioactive type suit and everything. And when he's crawling through, because he didn't realize that he's crawling through it, the little cord behind him gets severed. He gets turned into a jump rope from the 1970s, which that was fun.
I thought that was real cool.
But then he gets his suit gets transformed into a beekeeper, and so that's when he's crawling out of that sewer, and so we get to see that from that other perspective. The other thing that we get to see is them trying to communicate with her through the radio. Darcy comes up with this idea that we might be able to do that, so that's why we heard in that one episode, Wanda, who's doing this to you? That's Agent Woo trying to talk to her. None of us picked up on that was Woo.
Yep.
So they did some really unique and interesting things here. Showing
we get to see where the helicopter came from.
Yeah.
It started as a sword drum. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No.
But, and then right before we get to see Woo and Darcy communicate with Wanda in that scene, they just keep sending drones in. they I mean, it's just one after the other. And that doesn't necessarily have big significance in this episode, but maybe that's going to have some because they really focused on that. I don't know if you noticed that, but you see them sending drones in like 3 or 4 different shots, like from 3 or 4 different perspectives. So that's got to have some that's foreshadowing of some sort, I would imagine. But yeah, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, what I was going to say is that we then get to see that scene play out again with Geraldine, except we get to see the other half of the scene. We only got to see part of it where then, basically Wanda wanted her to leave. And then Vision comes in and he's like, oh, where is she? Oh, she went home or whatever, And then Vision's like, oh, okay, weird. I didn't see her leave. Well, the reason why Vision didn't see her leave is because Wanda basically force pushed the freaking heck out of her all the way out of town.
Yep. She removed her from the game.
She was yeeted.
Maximum yeet.
It was maximum yeet. Right out of town. And that was the we got to see the part of that scene at the end of the 3rd episode when she landed outside and all the military vehicles pop up. And then, but now we get to see Darcy and Wu run up and try to talk to her, and we get she says, it's all Wanda. It's all Wanda. And then we get to see the other part of it where Vision comes in, and then before he comes in, she's repairing the house, repairing her world that she just wrecked. Mm-hmm. And Vision's like, is everything all right? And then Wanda sees Vision, but it's Vision after Thanos ripped the stone out of his skull. Just this dead limp drone body. And that was like, whoa. And what I really like about it is that then it's like, well, okay, everything all right? Oh, yeah, everything's fine. They get the babies. What do you want to watch tonight? And it's the end of the episode. But it lends more credence to the fact that Wanda is the villain of the series.
Yes.
And that mentally she is not okay.
Well, and it really calls back to her origins in the MCU. She's a product of of experimenting with an Infinity Stone. Mm-hmm. She's basically the representation, like the real life manifestation of the Reality Stone. That's where her powers come from, right?
I wanted to say they came from, like, both her and her brother got the powers from the same stone that Vision had, because wasn't that the scepter? But no,
yeah.
when you think about it, it kind of does seem like her powers are reminiscent of the Reality Stone, with her being able to concoct this entire theme in this city into the different styles that she does, and she's able to fix, like, basically warping what you see around you to whatever reality she wants it to be. And it really is showing the full extent of her abilities and power. And there's one thing that she has never been called to the entirety of her participation of the MCU. She's never been called Scarlet Witch. Mm-hmm. She's always been called Wanda. She didn't have a code name, but maybe she's turning into the Scarlet Witch, and the Scarlet Witch persona, like that mentality. It makes me wonder, going forward, if she's not going to be like a major villain, but it's a very sympathetic villain. It's not one that you really want to root against. You want her to be okay.
Right.
Because her, as you said, her entire life has been nothing but a set of circumstances that has been out of her control. Not like what's happening now is her fault, but it's a ramification of everything that has come before that hasn't been. She didn't ask for all these powers, or at least I assume not, but she was experimented on. They welcomed her into the fold. She was a direct, her actions were a direct consequence of what would become the Civil War. She blew up that bomb, or she tried to send it away and ended up hurting people. But you can't exactly blame her for that. And then she lost Vision. in a way that you can't get back. After the snap, and even herself who got snapped, people are coming back. They were able to set the world right with very minimal losses. But the problem is, she is one of the people who is probably going to have problems moving forward because her loss cannot be mitigated.
Right.
Her loss cannot be accounted for. And even though at the end of Endgame we see where she may be going, this little like left turn at Albuquerque or Westview or whatever it's very interesting because that now makes me think this show is directly linked to the next Spider-Man movie. In fact, there's something I read that said Spider-Man takes place 8 months after Endgame. So this story we're seeing right now takes place before Spider-Man. I never thought about that. In that, the whole end credit scene with J. Jonah Jameson may be a direct result of what happens here. That the whole multiverse deal that's going to happen in the next Spider-Man movie has already started and we didn't realize it. It was J. Jonah. It was the same actor as the other series. And he's here revealing Spider-Man. I saw that online the other day, and that one I went, whoa, that's interesting, because that like changes our reality of something that we've already experienced, which kind of takes us, the audience, and places us into a direct path of even some of the cast members of having their world change. Something we've already watched is set after this, and it's going to change our perception of it. That's going to be really neat to see. But also, what if she ends up being the lead villain of like the Doctor Strange movie, and Doc's got to fight Scarlet Witch?
Well, a lot of people, maybe not necessarily here lately, I haven't heard it, but at the beginning, when they first announced this show as WandaVision, and then they announced the Doctor Strange film, and that the two are going to be related. A lot of people, including myself, went straight to, how is this setting up House of M? And surely they're gonna utilize this. This is how they're gonna bring in the X-Men. This is how they're gonna bring it all together. They're gonna connect the dots. And at first, I didn't think that they would go for something so ambitious right out of the gate. But now, I don't see how you could take this concept, this altered reality that Wanda has essentially created, and make this long term. Like, we can't do 3 seasons of Wanda just manipulating reality in this town. Something has to change, and I think when it does, it's going to be big enough that then it's going to set up everything else moving forward. And then, like you said, tie into Spider-Man. This is how you tie it into Doctor Strange, and then inevitably House of M. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes forward. I'll be honest with you, and I think I've said it on the show before, that between this and I'll be honest, between this and Falcon and Winter Soldier, I wasn't really interested. Let me rephrase that. It's not that I wasn't interested. I just wasn't like fangirl level excited. And this show has done what a lot of even more serious shows in the last decade haven't been able to do for me. Is this show has made me uncomfortable. And it's made me think a lot. So I'm really enjoying it. I hope they keep putting forward the level of complexity that they have so far with it.
So from what I understand, and I may be wrong, is that this series, Wanda, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, is like a trilogy. It's like a story that's like it's not, the story itself isn't going to completely extend into the future. It's going to be like these 3 things are tied in together to a mini arc, kind of like you would get in a comic series, a series 1 or episode 1 of 6, like this little arc, and you would have episode or issues 3 and 4 are in the Spider-Man series. You know, hey, we're going over there for these two. We're starting off with the first two in the WandaVision comic, and then we're going to the Spider-Man thing, and then we're going to end up in the Doctor Strange, because they all, you know, form together here to make this story. And meanwhile, if you want this whole series, and they're going to codename it like, you know, Multiverse of Madness series, you know, issues 1 through 6, and you go through your little catalog and find out which issues of each individual comic make up that thing. That's the way that and that's, as you said, very ambitious, because now they're taking that whole comic collective type deal and bringing it to the masses, and that is crazy.
Hasn't that been the goal all along with the MCU?
Yeah.
Is they've always wanted to, obviously it's a cash grab. Let's not forget about that. This is capitalism. But you know, you hear those executives, you hear the Feiges and what have you, they talk about it, and they always talk about, they want to capture the nostalgia and the magic and the feeling of a kid opening their comic book, and then they get invested in a series, and you know, they want that, but on the silver screen. And you know, they've done that for the most part, but if they're going to keep being ambitious and do things where, how else can we tie it in and make it more like a comic book, this is definitely the way to do it. So like you said, it'll be interesting to see, you know, if that ambition pays off, because there's a lot of, there might be some people that they don't, excuse me, they don't, and surely those numbers aren't very high, but, surely there's people out there that don't want to pay for Disney Plus to watch WandaVision.
Sure.
And maybe, I don't know. I don't think that there's going to be a time where people don't go to the theaters to see Spider-Man, but you know, as far as like Doctor Strange was a hit, but I don't think, you know, it wasn't a box office smash like Black Panther or Endgame or anything like that. So, you know, maybe I think that they're going to have to do a lot with Spider-Man and WandaVision to get people, especially with the pandemic, to get people out of the house to see Doctor Strange when it comes to theaters. Well, you know, and then with everything of that too, we still don't have Black Widow.
Yeah, exactly. And we may not get Black Widow. That, you know, that's a rumor that I heard that was going to get pushed back. Me and Nate talked about that last week a little bit. Like, they haven't confirmed, and they haven't said they're moving it, but everything else, a lot of things are getting moved. The only things that aren't getting moved necessarily are the stuff that has been confirmed to go into HBO Max, and it seems like Warner Media or AT&T or whoever's in charge of that call is holding firm to that. They're like, look, we're going to get these things out. And I actually thought of this earlier. I can kind of understand why they want to do it, is because they want to try and mitigate the loss into another property under their umbrella. It's like, hey, if we're going to have a loss anyway, with how few people are able to either go to the theaters or safely go, and would be willing to go for this year, then let's spread that love and try to get people to invest over here, so we can start while we're starting to crank up our original content and hopefully keep those guys. So I get it. And the other aspect of it is, though, of course, that came off the ground of making a lot of filmmakers very unhappy because of it, and that's a direct that is a big shame. But I completely get where they're coming from. They're making their films for a certain experience, you know, that theater experience, and I completely understand that. But what it's doing too is that if these movies do not get released and they keep getting pushed back, there's one thing that isn't happening right now. A lot of productions aren't being halted right now.
Yep.
You know, right now productions they're going pretty smoothly. I haven't heard news of productions being shut down in a while. So
you're basically working for free.
But like, these productions are underway. These other movies have not come out yet. So if they keep getting pushed back, how close in proximity are some of these already pushed back and done films that have been waiting for an entire year to come out, like Ghostbusters and Black Widow and, you know, all these other ones? You know, they need to come out at some point, because like, if these other films that are in production, Spider-Man, it's in production now. It's slated to come out in December. So we need to start rolling these out, and the studios either need to accept the losses that they're going to have for the theaters, or, you know, try to find that medium ground, like Disney releasing Mulan or doing HBO Max or rolling it out, to be able to enjoy these movies as they're coming out, because it's an unfortunate time for everybody, for us as consumers and for them as a business. And I really can't see a good thing to just other than, why are we going to keep pushing it back even more? Because if we get an announcement that Black Widow's been delayed again, does that not push back every other property?
You would think.
So, no, I think we just need to have Black Widow. And if they are worried about theater properties not being able to, show it or anything, I think Nate had a good idea last week, and I'm not sure how well it would work, because you're still going to be having, it doesn't matter either way, you're having some loss. But he's like, hey man, go buy your movie ticket. But it's going to be slightly elevated, because what you're going to get is that you're going to get a movie ticket and the Blu-ray. It's like basically you go watch the movie, you go spend your money at the concessions, and then when you walk out, they'll hand you the copy to take home with you. And I'm like, that would be cool if they were ready to do that. If they had this, right. I mean, obviously the Black Widow toys, I mean, they're already in stores. It's like it's a good thing none of those toys have directly spoiled the story, like Winter Soldier, Falcon, Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. The toy right there is already had a big spoiler. But I also heard Patrick Stewart had an interview where he said he had to sit down talk with Kevin Feige.
Ooh.
And it was, they had a lot of discussion. Of course, Kevin Feige used to work on the X-Men movies, so he knows who he is. And it was about bringing back him to play, Xavier. And Patrick turned it down. He said, I would have loved to have done it, but the last one we did, Logan, went out on such a high note that I don't think I want to touch it. And of course, then the mindset would be, Patrick Stewart's 80 years old, mm-hmm. and obviously you wouldn't be hiring him in to be a complete regular Xavier, at 80. So would that have been just a cameo? Just like we said in this Doctor Strange multiverse thing you said about bringing the X-Men, I heard a big rumor that they are trying to bring in Hugh Jackman as Wolverine just for that movie, just as a cameo, mm-hmm. Basically to introduce the mutants. And maybe he wouldn't be active Wolverine going forward, but it would be a way to kind of cross those streams a little bit to gain acknowledgement from the MCU, and then you can kind of work out the story details later. And then there's because then there's a rumor that like the MCU is going to introduce their own Wolverine with the Weapon X thing, with a movie called Hulk versus Wolverine, where it's going to utilize
one of my favorite comics ever.
It's going to utilize the Hulk, and that basically the Canadian version of the Avengers is tracking Weapon X. Hulk goes to help him out, and of course you have this big knockout, drag-out battle between Hulk and Logan. And then, of course, the idea would be is that whole team of heroes you bring in as the Canadian Avengers or whatever they're called, I can't remember, would eventually maybe get their own Disney Plus series or something. They wouldn't be big enough for their own movie. But, hey, they were in that big film, and now we're over here. So, who knows? There's a lot of ideas going forward, a lot of ways that we can spin it. Of course, we already know they're doing Fantastic Four. We know Kang the Conqueror is the villain in Ant-Man and Wasp. Those two are directly connected. So, the way I see it, this whole WandaVision thing that we're going through right now is going to have big ramifications for things going forward. And I think by the time we get at the end of Doctor Strange, it could upset the norms of that reality. Like maybe everything will be fixed, but not everything will be as it was, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
The universe is no longer tearing itself apart. It's been sewn back together, but some of these round pegs got through the square holes. They're in the contraption now, so we might as well just learn how to deal with it. So I don't know, man. This show, WandaVision, has got me really excited going forward. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but I thoroughly enjoyed the first two episodes. I thought they were completely different. The third one just the same, and this fourth one, if this is what everybody had kind of expected it to be, it is now what it is. Like all the context we got, I was kind of surprised they gave us as much as they did.
Well, and I'll tell you this too. This might not be relevant to the MCU moving forward, but I tell you what, those first 2 episodes, the first 3 episodes for that matter, they're so popular. I've heard so many people say that they loved it that, this might be the revival of kind of the Dick Van Dyke, Brady Bunch, that kind of sitcom. We might see that make a big resurgence too, which might not be a terrible thing.
Well, what recently we had kind of like 80s set sitcoms like the Goldbergs, and and they got a few others that are kind of out there that are like around that time. But how cool would it be to get a complete brand new 60s sitcom? I think it would be kind of really neat, because one thing that they prove that they can do, and we have the assets to, man, everything about the production of those episodes, with it being in black and white, with it being a little grainy, with the audio not being completely 100% crisp, and them able to use like modern technology to kind of to make the effects look even better with the stuff floating around and everything. It was just really fun. And no, same as you, I haven't heard anybody say that they didn't like the first 3 episodes. And if you like the first 3, you're really gonna like this last one.
Yeah,
because this last one to me is the one that felt MCU. Like, this is like, we are in present day MCU going for, like, we have a problem here, and it makes me wonder, like, based off the trailer images that we've seen, if Wanda isn't going to be trying to defend her home, and Vision's going to be right there with her, but then we're going to have this thing where her makeup of Vision becomes self-aware, and he's telling her, "You've got to let me go." Man, that'd be hard to watch, because that's all in her.
Tough.
Because then that's a manifestation of something inside her head telling her to let go. Man, that's rough. Anyways, no, we got the next series, Falcon Winter Soldier, in March, and we have a release date for Justice League Snyder Cut, March 18th.
And it's earlier. Yep.
Yeah, March 18th. It is 4 hours, and he just tweeted out a picture today. I don't know.
Shit.
I don't know if you saw it, but it's this.
Oh shit.
War is coming, and the quote is from. Oh, you can't see it.
I can't see that.
Martian Manhunter.
Oh shit.
The thing is, his vision for this movie was so big, and I'm super excited to see what we get out of it. It doesn't seem like we're going to get anything else out of it later on. He's very like, no, I'm kind of finishing this up, and then I'm kind of done, going to pass that baton to other guys to do their stuff. It's like, it's been real, But then to hear that basically the reason why he stepped away from the movie is very heartbreaking. Okay, so his daughter committed suicide, which is awful. I can't even begin to comprehend my own emotional reaction to losing a child. I can't. That is something that my own brain cuts that cord of train of thought. I can't even begin to go there. So he loses his kid, and the reason why he left isn't because he lost his kid, but it's a result of he doesn't have the energy to keep fighting Warner Brothers about the movie because of all the personal stuff he's going through. That's why he stepped away. That is awful. That's awful. And I know Warner Brothers was concerned, and they wanted this movie to be Marvel level of profit. But in Brando's honest opinion, you worry about the satisfaction of the fans first, and that profit will come. Don't have dollar signs in your eyes just because you see Pepsi doing something good. If you're Coke, you gotta worry about satisfying your fans, the people who drink your product. That's why you don't go make new Coke.
Right.
because everybody, and then people stop buying your product, and then you're like, well, let's roll. And of course, people say that was like a whole maybe a strategy, and because if it was, it worked. People went back to Coke and Flocks, but I can honestly see them being that stupid, because people are stupid.
People are stupid.
And so look at what happened with direct production involvement with Sony in the first Spider-Man trilogy. Look at what happened in the third movie. Look what happened with direct production involvement in the Tim Burton movies. After the second Tim Burton movie, they like kicked him out because they're getting too many complaints from moms about the movie being too dark and, you know, like, well, like mother effer, you wanted him. You know, he brought you money twice. And then we get Batman Forever, which is definitely a step down and a complete tone shift. And then the one after that turned into a toy commercial.
Yep. Nipples.
Nipples. But I mean, like, so Warner Brothers, you know, looking at like Batman v Superman, I can understand why in their minds that movie should have been the biggest movie of all time. The problem is it had been waited too long to have been done. And the movie was pretty damn good, but maybe not excellent. But that's okay. You can have a pretty good movie starting off a whole new great... It can lead to great stuff. You know? Like, so they're like, Batman v Superman only made $1 billion, guys. It only made $1 billion. We wanted $2 billion. You know? This Justice League thing, it needs to be big. It needs to be Avengers big. Bring in the Avengers guy. And really, they should have just like sat back and let Zach do his thing.
Well, and come to find out too, the Avengers guy that they thought was going to be their savior, turns out he's a douche
and a piece of shit.
Yes.
And this is not just from Ray Fisher. You know, Ray Fisher Cyborg, you know, brought a lot of things to light. This is like it goes to say something when all of your castmates, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, slap you on the back, or at least on Twitter, and say, we got your back on this.
Yep.
That says something to me.
And then you find... Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then Zack Snyder says, I'm not going to use a single frame of his movie in mine. I'd rather burn it to the ground first. Man.
Well, and then, you know, there's more and more... I'm pretty sure there's still people coming out of the woodwork to talk about how awful Joss Whedon is to work for or work with, you know, as far as, you know, other cast members from other movies, you know, former production members, crew members, just people. People don't rally. Normally in the industry, you know, we figured out that if someone commits like a crime or they do something awful or they say something that's in incredibly poor taste, there'll be some people that stand up for them. But normally, like us as fans and then them as professionals, they rally together to denounce those people, right? If someone does something that maybe isn't as terrible as people put it off to collectively, we rally behind them. Nobody's rallying behind Joss Whedon because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah. No, man, you hit it right on the head. You know, when I saw Justice League, I thought it was all right. You know, there's some beats in that movie that I really liked. You know, especially them bringing back Danny Elfman to do the score. And there was like some twinges of the old Superman theme from the old Superman films, and there was the old Batman score from the original '89 Batman was in there when he's rolling in through the Batmobile, and dude, that as a fan got me like in my seat in the theater, like giddy and hopping up and down in my seat, like, oh yeah, this is cool, you know. And then there's a couple cool moments in that movie that really got me hyped. But you know, with everything that has happened from beginning to end, I'm excited to see what this movie holds. I truly am. You know, there's a reason why when I had a chance to go pick up that DC 4K 4-movie box set, which came with Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, and Suicide Squad, and I got it for $18. Mm-hmm. Like because I want to watch those movies again. Collectively, they're not bad films. They're not bad movies. I can understand why like a hardcore guy is going to sit there and scrutinize them and look at what the MCU is doing, and because the MCU is up here, obviously, in terms of quality, but not always.
That's part of the problem. I really wish, a lot of times, I really wish the MCU didn't exist, so it could just be, evaluated by itself and not be compared to something else. The Warner Brothers movies don't need to be compared to the MCU, and they don't need to be compared to Star Wars. They need to be evaluated for what they are.
Sure. Yeah.
Joss Whedon's Justice League was not awful. It was pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see Zack Snyder's version. And you know what? I'll be the first to admit, we need to, as a fan base, if it's not really that much better, we need to call it what it is and say, you know what, your vision was cool, but it's not that much better.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with you, and not just to baby it,
Yes. Yeah, I don't want to kiss its ass is what I'm trying to
right.
say. I don't think it's going to be bad, but there's potential.
No, absolutely. But you have excitement about it, and I'm excited to see it. I know you're excited to see it, and I'm just excited for him, even if the movie does end up not to be better. I'm excited that he got to sit down and finish the movie he started. And, and not only that, but not only is it going to be on HBO Max, it's going to come out for you to own too, on 4K Blu-ray. So that's going to be great. And it's going to be a long-ass movie.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League. We have scrutinized and broke those three films down probably more than we have collectively every other movie that's come out since you and I have been friends, just because you're so passionate about Batman and about doing your due diligence and treating things fairly, so you and I have talked about it a shit ton. I want Zack Snyder, the Snyder Cut, to succeed for a multitude of reasons. But you hit the nail on the head earlier when you were bringing up studio involvement and what Warner and Sony and all these big companies are doing to these directors. They are hiring these directors to do a job. Let's say producer and director. You're hiring these people to do a job, and then when you give them the budget and you say, okay, do your job, then you start to meddle, and then you tell them, well, you're not doing a good enough job at your job, and we think you should do it this way. Well, why don't you just direct the movie then?
Yeah, right.
Why did you hire me to direct this movie if you don't want to let me do it? We've seen this from Disney with Lucas and a lot of the stuff that's come out,
Solo.
Getting rid of
Solo,
yes,
and
see,
then Colin.
You knew right where I was going.
Yeah, episode 9. Colin Trevorrow, is that his name?
Trevorrow.
Trevorrow, yeah, the guy that was going to do episode 9. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So maybe we shouldn't suckle from the teat of these big companies as hard, and maybe give some of these directors a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt, because especially we get more and more information every day. Yeah. It's not all just rumors and conjecture anymore. Now these people are real people, and it's an art form, and everyone has their right to appreciate art in the way that they want to do it. So I don't know.
Well, like, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Everybody has different tastes.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Everybody does have different tastes. If you don't like something, feel free to say you don't like it. That doesn't mean you have to be a complete dick and demean other people for liking it. As I said, I rewatched some of those DC films when I bought them on 4K, and I watched Man of Steel for the second time. I've only ever seen it twice, and I enjoyed it so much more my second time around.
Dude, the second half of that movie, I think, is really, really good.
You see, and I actually like the first half, knowing the story more. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not the best well done, but once you've seen it once, you go back to watch it again. Like, it is a much more interesting story to watch because you kind of know where it's going.
Right.
And it was the same way with when I got the BVS, because BVS is a direct sequel to that, and I've seen that movie that's probably my fourth time watching it, and I liked it a lot more, and I was catching a lot more little nuances because it was fresh in my brain because I went straight from the first one to the second one, and it did feel like an extension of that first movie, but it felt like it was also taking a step back to build up this world a little bit more on a more broad scale and the direct consequences of Man of Steel. So it was like, hey, we're only seeing the world through Clark Kent's eyes. Guess what? It's bigger. And there's other shit that's been going on this entire time. And now he is thrust right in the middle of it. And so on that front, I really thought that the movies were really much more like, I favor them a little bit more than I even did the first times I watched them and gave them a review and everything. And, and the first Wonder Woman was great. The second one was all right.
I still haven't seen it.
I think it's a good view. There's some really good character stuff in there. It's a different tone, completely different tone. I get why people don't like that because the first one had a certain tone and it fucking nailed it. But I also see why, from a creative standpoint, it was intriguing to the actors and to the director because it was the same director, Patty Jenkins, to completely change up the formula. Let's try something completely different here. And I get that 100%. And on some stages, it definitely succeeds, and others maybe not so. Is this a go back and rewatch all the time? No, but man, there's some good acting in it, some good character shit, especially from the Mandalorian. Pedro Pascal did a great job playing a character who's a complete 180 from all the other characters I've ever seen him play. Knocked it out of the park. So, and I even liked Aquaman for what it was. I thought it was all right. Maybe a step down from like Wonder Woman or something like that. Wonder Woman was maybe a 9, for how good it was. But no, these movies are pretty good, and I don't think it's hard not to compare them when you're in the superhero realm.
Right.
But then again, you also had 3 different sections of the Marvel stuff: the MCU, Spider-Man individual or separate Spider-Man verse movies, the Venom and that stuff, and then also like the X-Men Deadpool movies too. So you had different sects of the same world. Hopefully, the next Deadpool movie will be interesting and good because we are getting that. And it is going to be MCU and it will be rated R. And Ryan Reynolds is consulting with the script, and he revealed an idea for the prior Deadpool 3 movie before the acquisition by Marvel. It was an early draft of the idea of Deadpool 3 was going to be a road trip movie with Deadpool and Wolverine, which would have been they have those two just in a car for most of the movie talking. Basically,
I think that would have been fucking fantastic.
Dude, basically Deadpool 3 would have been planes, trains, and automobiles, but with Deadpool and Logan. With Logan playing the straight man.
It'd be even better if what was the cab driver's name? If the cab driver, if they were riding in his cab.
Could you just have him interjecting? Oh man. No, I just Deadpool's John Candy. Oh man. I by the way, off note here, I miss John Candy.
Me too.
John Candy was great. No, one more thing to talk about. This is a rumor of rumors, so please take this with a huge grain of salt, but it would not surprise me. As you said, House of Mouse, bottom line, bottom dollar. So we know that they're doing an Ahsoka series on Disney Plus, where it's going to follow Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka looking for Thrawn. Mm-hmm. The rumor is that will culminate in a standalone film where Thrawn finally makes his debut in the movie, or at least maybe he's in the series, but when they're finally going to go head to head, it's going to be in the movie. And that the standalone movie will also feature the Mandalorian and Grogu. So and what I like about it is that you almost have like the Marvel stuff that's going on with the WandaVision and the stuff leading into other movies. You would have Mandalorian. Yet people who are invested in that watch Ahsoka, maybe watch Republic Commandos or something like that, or Boba Fett, and all of these stories somehow culminate into this movie. That's like a big send off for that part of the story, and maybe some shows continue on after that, and maybe some shows kind of like, hey, you know, that was it for us. Our story ends here. But that's an interesting little thing to do, and it kind of sets it up separate from. I honestly feel Star Wars going forward is going to be dealt with differently than anything else going on. Like, it's not going to be just like, oh, this is the main, this is the trilogy of movies, and it's going to be this, and then we're going to go forward. I feel like it's going to be much more intricate, much like what we're doing with MCU.
Well, I making odd noises with my mouth now. I think you and I have brought it up before. Nate and I have talked about it at length. Star Wars is a canvas that you can essentially just throw paint on and tell any story that you want to tell. There is no reason that they can't start doing a little bit more genre-focused movies. Mm-hmm. If you want to do a like a crime drama, like a heist movie, Star Wars is there for you to do that. I mean, they essentially did that with Solo, but that's one of the first ones that comes to my mind. If you want to tell a thriller or a maybe not like a slasher film, but maybe like a survival horror film, like in the vein of Alien or Predator or something of that nature, you have that ability to do that with Star Wars. You can tell any story you want to tell. And essentially, you can take any other genre and pull it into Star Wars, and it'll work. We've seen that with the Western and the Kurosawa influence in The Mandalorian.
Absolutely.
You can do whatever you want to do with this product, and it'll make money. And if you put the right people in the right places, it will be, as we've seen, it'll be flawless.
Not only do we put the right people in the right places, but you also minimize oversight.
Yes.
And that ties into what we were talking about earlier. The oversight, too much oversight's bad.
You don't need to micromanage every aspect of every project in your stable. You don't need to have your fingers in everything. Let the people that you have delegated to do shit, let them do it and see what happens. If you stumble, you stumble. Star Wars is not going to fail because they paid just pick director A. If their movie doesn't sell out, Star Wars isn't going to fail. We've seen that with Solo. I love the film. You enjoy it. Most people fucking hate it. And it's unfortunate because it doesn't deserve the treatment that it got. We've said that a million times on the show, but I think, and I really hope, and obviously I'm a little bit biased with the current or with the previous trilogy here, but I really think that Disney needs to utilize Ruby making a cameo here. Disney needs to utilize this opportunity and learn a lesson. We just want good content. Mm-hmm. If you want to make 10 we got some R2-D2 and Darth Vader pillows. Let me finish. Okay? We're done a little bit. If Disney wants to make 10 standalone films over the next 5 years, give us 2 movies a year, that'd be great. Not everything has to be a trilogy. Mm-hmm. Not everything has to be this super ambitious. Obviously we've talked about that a lot on the show thus far about different projects interacting with each other and being a part of a grander narrative, but not everything has to do that.
No.
They need to look at Rogue One. They need to look at what they've done in 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, and they need to just keep doing that.
The interesting thing about Rogue One is that it was its own standalone story, which directly leads into the very beginning of Episode 4. So it is like it ties into without the overwriting. Like, they basically what it did allow was for more context into that 4th movie. And it works perfectly for that. With Mandalorian, we now have more context for after Episode 6.
Right. From
a certain point of view, no pun intended there. But from a certain point of view, we're getting that, and that story has now weaved its way into the New Republic, into the remnants of the Empire, which is seemingly the very beginning of what would be the First Order, and also into the cameo of Luke Skywalker. So, we're heading in the right direction. you can do a lot of different things. Like they're doing the High Republic thing. The big rumor is that, well, not big rumor, but now the Star Wars as like a video game property is no longer exclusively tied to EA. Because you
and I have been begging for that for years.
Yes. Over the course of like the last 6 years, we've gotten like 2 games, Battlefront 2, or Battlefront 1, and then 2, I guess, and then Jedi Fallen Order like over a year ago.
And Squadrons.
Oh, and Squadrons. I forgot about Squadrons. But that's only 4 games. And that's not a lot when you compare it back into the 2000s when there was like a myriad, the Lego games. You have like the Battlefront games there. It was, there's a lot you can do with the property, and so we're getting a brand new game from Ubisoft, from the same dev team that did The Division. We're getting apparently a brand new Knights of the Old Republic game, but we don't know who's developing it, and it may be a surprise. So, but it isn't BioWare and it's not EA, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that, because that verse, I love it because it's so far removed from the main narrative of what everybody holds dear to their heart. Right. One reason why the second trilogy is so contested and why it's so hard to hit a home run is that it plays with the toys that were there in your childhood. The prequel does your prequels do the same thing, but not necessarily is it 100% the same scrutiny. It may be with Anakin it is, but it's not a 1-to-1 because these aren't the same toys.
They're not apples to apples.
But literally, you have the same toys, and because you bring in back the original cast members to reprise roles and do creative decisions that not everybody is going to agree with. And with Knights of the Old Republic, you're so far back there, you could literally just like, hey, this is Star Wars, and you're making a whole new Star Wars property, make it feel, look, sound like Star Wars with all new characters you've never heard before, but the groundwork has been laid for you with what Star Wars is, and then you just have that at Haas create, and that's what they did with the first 2 KOTORs, and both games are fantastic. The second game wasn't finished, but once again, oversight. Man, that's a theme of the day, isn't it? It seems like the directors and writers need to just exert maximum yeet with some of these oversight. Get out of my office. Get out of my building. That's the episode title, Maximum Yeet.
Maximum Yeet.
But, dude, that's all I got for this week, man. I don't have a lot to talk about. I mean, I guess we had a lot to talk about, but I ain't got much more. I am excited for what the future holds. I'm excited to do... to get back to it, we need to finish that comic review that we started, Death in the Family, which, by the way, they did an animated version of that on HBO Max, and I haven't watched it yet because I want to finish reading the comics first, and then I want to watch it because, from what I understand, it kind of takes not that it takes liberties with the story, but there's more context to the Death in the Family story that's added 2 decades later with the Under the Red Hood story. And maybe they marry those 2 together a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know.
I'll have to check that out.
But I mean, I just saw like images, and I see an image of Red Hood. I'm like, are they going to like show that part and then show a little bit of the other part? So it makes me wonder. But no, I want to get back to that. We had said that when we got back together, we were going to finally do a full season breakdown of Mandalorian. We haven't done that yet. So maybe when we can all 3 get back together, we'll do those things, and we'll kind of set those as priorities on the docket because we still have more WandaVision to go. I believe we have 5 more episodes.
I actually never saw the season.
The episode count.
Yes, the episode count. That was the word I was looking for.
I think it's.
I don't know.
I think it's 9. I think we're getting 9 episodes, and what was really interesting is that I think from an interview with Feige, he said that the episodes for WandaVision are shorter because they were kind of designed to be that sitcom type episode. But then that's not going to necessarily be the same for Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then Loki is more like 6 episodes because they were like 45-minute to 50-minute type like drama or like mystery type episodes like that area every week. So some different versions of entertainment that we're getting going forward, but I think that's going to wrap it up here for me.
Me too.
All right, TY. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening to this episode of Journey into Comics, episode 333. Maximum Yeet. You can find us all on the podcast, on all those podcast platforms. That you can find us Apple, Spotify, that iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Alexa, by the way. That's kind of cool. Amazon. We're also on YouTube where you can find the video, and on Facebook. I post the video there early for all the people. So I'm not sure how early it's going to be, but it will be sometime tonight as we record this. So go check us out on all those things and on social medias, all the places that you can get your entertainment stuff. Journey into Comics Network. Find us. So with that being said, this has been episode 333, Maximum Yeet. I've been Brando.
I've been TY.
And we're going to maximum yeet ourselves right on out of here. Flip your caps back and fill your brains with shit. See you later, guys. Oh, she don't want us to leave. Well, sorry, Ruby. We got to go. See you next week. Bye, guys.